you look at like a magnet, it attracts all kinds of things. If you have a magnetic personality, you just attract people naturally. But if you put two opposites or two positives together, two negatives or two positives together, what will they do? They will diametrically oppose each other. There's a invisible magnetic field that will oppose, that they cannot get close. Do you have a magnetic personality, or do you have a personality that somehow is repelling people and you're having a hard time connecting? That's the focus of today's show. Welcome to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio again with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
It's been a couple of weeks since
back.
you have been in studio, so it's great. I don't have to look at my computer.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you just are catching this show for the first time, really appreciate you tuning in. We're going to have a great show, but before you settle in, if you're not driving, go check us out online at 5starlife.org and learn more about the mission we're on to change the face of education, of sports, of culture. So much going on. We'd love to get you involved. We're a nonprofit, and we've been in business. This is going to be our 20th year.
I know. That's exciting.
It is exciting. 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing the statistics. We were starting out 90% of most businesses fail in the first 3 years. And then out of that 10% that make it, another percentage don't make it to 5. And then very few make it to 10. And I remember having that just kind of in your mind. And I remember people talking to us, potential donors, people you can just tell they're like, you're not going to be the 90%. You're not going to make it. So I'm not going to get involved.
Yeah.
So it's fun to look back on the journey. We've learned so much.
We have. And you know what's funny, though, is those conversations still ring in your head. Because you know what I mean? You can remember them clear as day.
Yeah. Yep.
You're going to fail.
Yes. I mean, it is amazing how many people that I don't think it was their intent to try to discourage you, but they did a really good job of it. Mm-hmm. Just you're just hoping that they'll say yes to getting involved, or like the vision, or like the idea, or even like the rudimentary data you have after a few years. And it's just it was never good enough. Mm-hmm. And it's really, the thing that's interesting is many of those people never come full circle and recognize the value of the program and the success you've had. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. It's I'm not sure where their mind is. If it's just they made it, and I kind of challenged them that they probably weren't going to make it, and so I want nothing to do with it. It's very interesting to think about being in those shoes 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I hope everybody that maybe thought, they're not going to make it. It's a good idea. It's a pipe dream. It's too big. They're not going to survive. I would welcome every one of you maybe that had your doubts. I would just say, I'm not offended by that at all. Not at all. Come get involved. Come learn more about what we're doing. You know,
though, I think probably most people don't remember.
Probably not.
That they spoke that into our lives. And it goes back to the power of your words.
Yeah.
And how many times we talk about that.
Isn't it interesting how those negative comments they stick to you, they stand out, they're seared in your memory. Mm-hmm. When sometimes, some of the people may have said it flippantly, just kind of off the cuff, off the top of their head, put zero thought probably into it, but just off the cuff, mm-hmm. giving feedback.
Yeah.
Probably that's what we chalk it up to. Because unfortunately, I've been there. I've been in meetings where I'm like, why did I go there? It was unnecessary. Why did I say that? When I catch it, I'll try to apologize. You know what? I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to give you reality. Because anybody that's started something and endured, you have your hard knock story. You have your, this is going to be really tough. Are you ready?
And you're trying to be a support almost. You're trying to help, but sometimes our words don't have the same effect that we mean them to. You know what I mean? You're kind of saying it out of love, but the other person takes it like a stab in the heart.
Yeah. So Jordan, my 18-year-old, is headed to flight school, and it's really interesting. I was talking to a retired Air Force colonel who he's going to be renting from, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
How cool is that you have you're renting, your landlord is a Air Force colonel who worked at the Pentagon, and I mean, just incredible experience. So 31 years. But he was saying, yeah, my kids both went through flight school. In the school your son's attending, my son actually had to leave his flight school because it wasn't good. He wasn't getting hours, so you're in good hands. The flight school you're going to is great. But he said, I want to just encourage you, like, my daughter is also a pilot. My son and daughter both followed my footsteps. They're both pilots. And my daughter had flight instructors that actually tried to talk her out of staying in the program. Like, I don't think you're going to make it. Like, you might just want to cut your losses. Like, it's a big investment. Like, you're not going to make it. Like, I think you need to think about doing something else. And she's like, my daughter was just so stubborn that she was like, this is what I want to do. I love to fly. I don't care how bad I am. I don't care how much I'm struggling with the concepts and people don't understand. A pilot has to almost understand the airplane like a mechanic does. So you have to know like you're reading every plane you fly, you have to know the manual of how the plane works in and out, right? And you have to know all the idiosyncrasies of flying. Mm-hmm. So she was like, I'm doing this and I don't care. And he said, 7 years later, she's like one of the most incredible pilots there is. Like one of the best pilots I've ever flown with.
That's awesome. I wonder how many Olympic athletes that are competing right now, probably the same thing. Like someone told them that, you know what, you're not very good. You're not a good swimmer, and now they're crushing it.
Or if you're not good, you're not good enough. You're not going to make it. Like you're good right now, but just wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting.
It
okay.
is.
So fun conversation. Totally off topic from what we're going to talk about today, but it's still really good stuff. Because we're talking to our kids right now about transformation. How do you transform your life? The definition we give to kids is it's this radical change in form, in nature, appearance, or character. And we've been talking to kids about how do you transform your personality. So many kids don't like their personality. They don't like who they are. Mm-hmm. They think they're too shy or they're too weird or they think they're socially awkward. They don't like their personality. So we are teaching a series on how to truly transform. Your personality is not static. You're not stuck. It's not fixed. We can grow and change. And most people don't, though. Most people, their personality is set just because they buy into that idea that this is who I am. So instead of looking at other people that have, personality traits that they like or admire, instead of admiring them enough to learn and latch onto those things and make them our own, we just say, I'm stuck. So for kids, we're giving them hope.
What change is hard no matter where it applies to your life, but especially with your personality. I think it's scary. Yeah.
So what we taught in today's lesson that we filmed was teaching kids, and this was geared towards elementary kids. I had a teacher tell me, Seth, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So thinking about the things that shape our personality, the people we surround ourselves have a huge influence on our personality, our confidence, our energy, our vibe. So the people we surround ourselves with is a big deal. And there's a lot of kids that would say, well, Coach Seth, the people that I want to be around, the crowds I want to hang with, this is for kids. It's also for adults. We can all think back to people that rejected us or friendships that just didn't work out. And, we tell kids, like, there are kids that maybe you want to be friends with that they already have friends. They're not looking for more friends. That's hard to deal with, but that's a reality. There are other kids that they're so focused on themselves, they're kind of closed for business. They're not looking for friends either. But on the other side, we tell kids, listen, those kids, if you would get to know them, they're so fixated on themselves, they probably wouldn't make a good friend anyways. But there are other times that we don't make the friends that we really want because there's something in our personality that is off-putting. And that's hard to come to grips with. That's a hard thing to think about. And it's where a lot of adults I talk to are like, well, I don't care, I'm just doing me. And that's really good for people that are toxic and that are just judgmental and are not good for you. That's not a good mindset for most relationships, though. Like, if we want to have a good personality, that personality trait of being like, I'm good, I got mine, I'm out, that's not helpful. So in the next segment, I want to come back and tackle some of the things that we're teaching kids on how to start to transform our personality.
Did you know that you can bring the values, lessons, and mindsets Coach Seth discusses on the 5-Star Life podcast to your local community? Schools are searching for programs and content that work. Just a simple introduction to your teacher or principal could be a game changer in your community. Inquire at 5starlife.org and someone from our team will be in touch.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth. I'm joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
And, if you just tuned in, I really want to encourage you. You can listen to this show anywhere that podcasts are streamed. You can also catch some of these episodes on YouTube at the 5-Star Life. And we're super excited to announce that we have a new platform partner. It's At Your Home TV, which actually is our biggest audience right now. We just started like a week and a half ago, and boom, there's lots of people watching. So if you're watching on Your Home TV, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the show. Give us some feedback, give us some comments. And remember, if you hit the subscription button, you won't miss an episode. Also, it helps us, if you like the show, share it with other people. So we're talking about personality and how to transform your personality. And I was talking to a kid yesterday. At Summit. So for those you just tuned in, we have this 350-acre, beautiful, innovative learning campus that is a place where lives transform in every way. Their mindset, their heart, their relationships, their skills, their competencies. It's just incredible. It's like heaven on earth for kids. And so I'm talking to this kid at the end of the day. Just met him, and he just starts, I start asking questions. He just starts babbling, he's talking. And he's like, yeah, my mom says I need social, experiences. And she says I'm not good socially. And he's just rambling off about, what his mom says. And I said, what do you think? He's like, I'm good. I got 2 friends. I got 3 friends, and I'm good with those 3 friends. Kind of like we just talked about in the previous segment. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, why does she say you need social interaction? Like, I know that's why you're at our camp. She's like, I don't know. She just thinks like I can't get along. Like I can't keep friends. I have a hard time making and keeping friends. She says, is that what she says? Is that what you say? He said, yeah, it's kind of true. Like I had 3 friends, but I lost one yesterday, so I'm down to 2. And I'm like, what do you think it is? And at that moment, another kid walks up and introduces himself to me, and they're talking. They had been in the same group at camp today, so they kind of knew each other. Well, that kid kind of makes a comment to this kid I'm talking to, and like that, this kid gets up, grabs the kid by the arm, and starts swinging him around like he's going to throw him to the ground. And this kid is just trying to have fun. He knows the kid's kind of having fun with him, so his response is to grab him hard and swing him around almost to the ground. And I'm watching the other kid's face, and he's like getting red. He's awkward. He's like, what is this kid doing? He's grabbing my arm. This is awkward. This is in front of Coach Seth and other people. Like, he just felt like super weird.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I see exactly what your mom's talking about.
Did you share that with him?
Yeah. I said, I said, hey, just chill out for a second. So he came back over and I said, I think I just witnessed what your mom's talking about. He said, what? He looked at me like, what? I said, I mean, you're having fun, right? He's like, yeah. I looked at the kid, I said, and are you having fun? He's like, no. I said, I think we're onto something. Somehow your version of fun and his version of fun, they are not the same. And what we teach in this lesson is, you look at like a magnet. It attracts all kinds of things. If you have a magnetic personality, you just attract people naturally. But if you put two opposites or two positives together, two negatives or two positives together, what will they do? They will diametrically oppose each other. There's a invisible magnetic field that will oppose, that they cannot get close. They're repulsive to each other. And if we're not intentional, we all have some personality traits that are repulsive to other people. Now, if we have parents that are really engaged, that's what parents' role is, to help young kids get rid of repulsive personality traits. That's the role, whether it be as parents know it or not, but you're trying to grind off the rough edges, sand them down and say, hey, you might not want to pick your nose in public. And then, hey, you might not want to, physically touch and get into people's space. There's this, like all those conversations that parents have with kids, it's personality shaping.
As a parent, though, it's so hard because it's repetitive correction. And then I mean, how do you handle that? At first it's kind and then it's like, stop picking your nose.
Yeah, it is. It's so hard because as parents, we see everything. It's like they're precious children of God and monsters at the same time. So it's like you have this love-hate relationship where you see the best and the brightest future and you're like, are they ever going to make it? And we coach parents to always keep the vision of your kid at their best in your mind. I think the key that I've tried to latch on to, that I've learned from wrong action, when you see everything, the volume's all turned up, that's when we're an abrasive, obnoxious parent, where we're just grinding on our kids. And that can have a super toxic impact on our kids, where our kids think they don't like us. It will shape their personality to be insecure because they feel like they're just under this microscope. So it's like we've got to turn the volume down and somehow latch on to just like take the biggest thing, that like the nose picking. If we can pick one thing at a time and kind of drown out the other things until they get that, you can't have 15 things for them to work on at a time. That's overwhelming for kids. And that will hurt their personality.
That's a good point, because I think too, we try to wipe it all out at once and address it all at once. Because, as again, parents and today too, you're going. It's like, I got to correct this now.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many middle school kids we talk to that's when the rift between their parents starts to happen. And I've had so many kids just say, my parents, like my mom, my dad, they just nag me and chastise me nonstop. And the parents are well-meaning. Like they're taking ownership for their kids. They're trying to help their kids. Mm-hmm. But just turn the volume down. Love your kids. Look past all the things they're doing wrong. Focus on the top one or two, and just go through those things little by little. And the other thing is, sometimes some habits are really hard to die. Like some of those things take a while, and so then maybe you ease off that one for a little bit, and maybe get some advice from other parents that have had kids with a similar nose picking or lying or obnoxious or not keeping their hands to themselves. I mean, think about who you can talk to that might have had a success with their kids in the way they went about it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, like if it's not changing relatively quick, then we might need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe our approach needs to be changed.
You know what, though? You can almost have to have a check-in as a parent, to tell yourself that, because you get so caught up in it and you're frustrated and it's not changing and it's hard.
And it's usually kind of the frustration feeds into fear, because then our mind goes to, what are the ramifications if they don't figure this out? They're going to be lonely. They're going to be obnoxious. Nobody's going to like them. That's going to have a huge impact on their life. So then fear comes in, and then we think we got to go harder. It's like, usually that's not the approach.
Yeah.
Usually a change of approach. So what are some of the things that we can do to shift our transform our personality? Literally, what we teach kids is it starts with respect. It's one of our 5-star core values. If you can treat others the way they want to be treated, it will change your personality. It will change how you come across to people. Our problem is usually, as kids, we're focused on us. We're not thinking about, respect is treating others the way they want to be treated. So it's now being mindful of, how do they want to be treated? And being more aware of, reading their body language, reading their emotional levels, reading what's going on in the situation. And that's a sign of respect. But ultimately, there's some simple, respectful things that ultimately are game changers for your personality. And we'll hit those when we come back next. Again, at the break, really want to encourage you, if you haven't liked this or shared this or gone to our website, go check it out and share this with somebody. We'll be right back after this.
5-Star Life is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to changing the face of culture by changing kids' mindsets. Since 2005, we've impacted hundreds of thousands of lives thanks to the generous support of individuals, small businesses, corporations, and foundations. Are you interested in helping 5-Star Life grow into all 50 states? With your donation or introduction, you can help bring 5-Star Life to your community, school, and state. Go to 5starlife.org and send us an email today. That's FIVESTARLIFE.org.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth. We're having a great conversation about personality. But your children's, we were talking about as a parent, and you see things in your child's personality that you want to help them correct, I guess.
So you're a parent, you're a grandparent.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about kids and grandkids. What are the most abrasive, personality traits in kids, in your mind, just off the top of your head?
Gosh, that in your face, obnoxious.
The needy, me.
Uh-huh.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else?
That's a big one for me. I really, and I think they all kind of spread. I mean, they have wings from that.
Yeah. So the obnoxious behavior of kids. I was talking to another parent of one of our 5-star kids, and she was kind of going on a tangent about her pet peeve is in the grocery store when parents let their kids go just kind of run wild. Yeah. I think that's some people's pet peeves. I think the other one is just when the whiny personality, always whiny, needy, complainy. I think that's one. I think then there are some other things that are softer, but there are also things that are glaring if you're just meeting a kid for the first time, like when kids don't acknowledge you. And you're with their parents and they introduce you to them, and the kids don't look at you and look at the floor I'm not talking about 3-year-olds. I'm talking about 10, 11, 12 middle school kids, high school kids that are just won't make eye contact and look at you. Those are first impressions that make a big deal. And in our minds, in our critical, judgmental adult minds, we're that's a weird kid. And and then we take it down the path, what are they doing to their kid? They don't recognize them. Why aren't they we then judge the parent.
Right. Oh yeah.
And it's not right, but we do it. We all do it. And we actually end up forming some base opinions in a second. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
So that's why we're teaching this lesson this is for grade school kids. Talking about how to transform your personality. So how to create this magnetic personality it's really so simple. When you think about the way you treat people and just, respectful behavior. Respect is giving a compliment, looking for a way to celebrate or compliment somebody, looking for a way to encourage somebody. That's respect. So, man, I like your jacket. I like your outfit. Like, I like your hair today. Like, it's that simple. If you are just walking into a room, or you're just meeting someone, or they're sitting next to you in class, and you're looking for some way to compliment or encourage, guess how that's going to be received? They're going to be like, I like them because they're recognizing I put some time into this outfit. I put some time into my hair. I like my shoes too. All of a sudden, they're like, I like that person. Mm-hmm. It's super simple, but it starts with respect. The neediness in kids often comes from just our basic core need of needing love and acceptance. We all need it, but we go about it wrong. So instead of going to get it, you first have to give it. You give that respect. You give that compliment. You give that encouragement. And then people see you differently. They're like, I like that person. When was the last time somebody you met and they just encouraged you, complimented, and you're like, that person is just weird. I really don't want to spend time with that person. It doesn't happen.
Right.
You meet somebody and they talk to you like that. You're like, man, they're so cool. I like them. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they acknowledge you. Really simple.
It is simple. I think too, as a terrible trait that I have there is when people compliment, then you give them a reason why they shouldn't have complimented you. So I hope kids don't do that. Like, it was on clearance. Who cares? It's like they're just trying to compliment you.
It's kind of an endearing trait. That's not a toxic trait at all, because it shows humility. It's like, that's how I would view that. I view that as like, oh, she's not like full of herself. It would have been totally fine to say, oh, thank you, I got it on clearance. That might be a better way to say it.
Yeah.
But I think it shows a little humility. So how do you, the other part I guess I'll talk about too with kids is like appropriate touch. That's also a huge, like the kid Johnny at camp yesterday, who it was literally inappropriate touch that was very off-putting, mm-hmm. right? So how you touch people, how you don't touch people. We had a new person in our neighborhood move in, and I'm friendly, so I went to say hello, and I was walking towards their driveway, and this person, when they saw me, I made some noise because I was probably 30 feet off. I'm like, hey, I saw them out in their yard, so I just said hello, went to introduce myself, and one of the people stood up. They were doing something in the yard. They stood up, got big eyes, and just put their hands out and said, I'm a germophobic.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like reading them, and I want to be respectful. But at the same time, like their body language and their fear of germs was like, oh, okay. Like, I know, like you're close, like, and that was my first impression. Since then I've connected. They're very friendly, but it was like, holy cow, that was something.
I've never experienced that.
Me either. I was like, whoa, that is something. And it was during COVID when everybody's worried about germs and all that stuff. And she's out there in her mask in the yard. And so I got it.
Right.
But it is interesting how big of a deal body language is in first impressions.
Yeah.
So, respect is positive, appropriate touch. And until you know the person, just keeping it really safe, that's appropriate. But if the other person responds, then a hug, a handshake, a high five, whatever is appropriate. So it's simple things that bring respect.
I think that's a great trait or character to teach your children. My kids do a good job, especially my little grandsons. That's been like pounded into them that they always compliment. They're always saying something nice and thanking, and it's interesting.
Yeah, well, that comes from the top. That's how you and Jim both are. You both have great personalities. You're both very warm and are so endearing in that way. Fun and light. And so I've been able to learn from both of you.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you.
which is fun. So if you're watching this, listening to this, and you're thinking, okay, how do I help my kids or my grandkids? We actually have a solution. We have a 5-star video curriculum. That's actually what we're talking about. We're talking about the curriculum that we teach in schools. This goes to teachers. They implement this in their classrooms. But we also have an app that you could utilize with your family, with your kids, with your grandkids. You can follow along. So it's a great tool, a great thing. So you can check our website for more information there. All right. So when you think about personality, you think about respect, you think about disrespect. Anything else come to mind from your, like, any moments you're like, man, there was this moment where I realized, man, the way I'm looking at whether it's kids that you've worked with or adults that you've worked with, there's something about the respect level of my personality that's got to change in order to work. Anything come to mind? I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Gosh, I think for me is I've had those moments where and it's not disrespect, but you almost cut people off and you're going to teach them, tell them about a lesson before they can, don't even go there because I'm going to, let you know how this really is. I don't like when I do that. But other than that, I didn't.
Yeah, it is, for me, it's just usually when I'm thinking about myself. I honestly, that's the biggest hiccup to personality is when our eyes are focused on ourselves. Whenever I'm others focused, I'm great because I'm not in myself. I'm not self-conscious. I think that's probably one of the biggest hangups for kids and adults is just this major obsession with self. Mm-hmm. But the key to being magnetic is being others focused. All right, we got to take another break. We'll be right back after this on the break. Share this, like this, subscribe to this.
5-Star Life offers year-round programs for kids at our 350-acre training facility that we call Summit. These programs focus on 3 core components. First, each program includes lessons from our curriculum that targets kids' mindset. Secondly, each program teaches a skill like equine, archery, blacksmithing, basketball, fishing, boating, and many more. Thirdly, our programs connect kids to mentors we call coaches who are trained to help kids live a 5-star life. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more or sign up your kids.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
And just a reminder, another plug, you can watch this show anywhere that podcasts are streamed. Actually, listen to the show anywhere podcasts are streamed. You can watch us on YouTube at the 5-Star Life. And our new program platform is Your Home TV. And there's a ton of people on there watching already, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. A great partner. It's a really cool platform that allows you to look at episodes. There's a ton of shows and programs on there, really unique. So check us out there as well. So we're going to wrap this up. And we've been talking about personality, transforming your personality, and just teaching kids that the key to having a magnetic personality, it really starts with respect. The other part of being respectful, you think about personality traits is just your energy. I mean, what kind of energy do you approach people with? Just kind of the sluggish, downtrodden, or is it just a nothing? You're just a blank slate? Do you bring a warmth and a positivity? Like, our energy is an absolute game changer. And it's so easy to allow our energy to be dictated by our emotions and how we feel, right? And especially as kids, right? Mm-hmm. It's like if something went wrong, then all their energy shifts and it's just like, it's miserable, right? All of a sudden something positive happens and they're upbeat. That's kids. But as parents, we're supposed to help our kids understand, how do I regulate my energy? Because that's personality shaping. My energy, my vibe that I have, how often do we judge people based just on their energy?
Oh yeah, that's a huge one for me because I feed off of your energy. So if you can't give me anything, I'm out of here.
So you're checking out if it's like, oh, okay, I'm out of here.
Because I struggle with that personally to bring energy, to bring the right energy. I always want to be upbeat, but sometimes you just don't feel it. So I like to be around people that are going to be upbeat.
That's funny. Because I guess in my experience, my experience is only when we're around each other, you're always upbeat. I mean, you always seem upbeat. So I guess that's a compliment to myself is what I'm saying.
There you go. Pat yourself on the back.
No, I think positive feeds off positive. I think positive wants to be unpositive. I think we're all like that. And the more positive people you're around, the more contrasting negativity is, and the more repulsive it is, right? So how do you become a person that isn't just limited to being around positive people because it's fun? Because we need to bring people along and be a light to them. But then for kids, we're teaching them, hey, pay attention to your energy because your energy is a big part of your personality. And it's going to shape your friendships, your school, your life. So I learned a trick many years ago. You know this about me. More than a decade ago, I read this book, and this guy talked about he used doorways like a threshold as just a simple reminder to think about what energy he wants to have in that room. Like, how does he want to show up for the meeting or show up for the class or show up to his family? What kind of vibe does he want to have? And I thought that was brilliant. And it was just one of those things that was so sticky and tangible for me that it was stuck and it was life-changing. So the doorway is just a quick reminder, like, okay, I came from one meeting that I got bad news, but I'm not taking that to the next room. It's so easy.
Mm-hmm. I think too, and you've heard it before, is like that the most important doorway is that one you go through at the end, like when you're coming home from the end of the day, to leave everything out there because it's not fair to your kids and to your spouse, and to bring that home. I think that's an important one.
It is, and that's helped me too. It's like it helps you turn it off, and the doors help me turn on and off all the time. It's like I'm coming back. I got to come back to that doorway and fix some things, but not right now. So I'm back to who I am. I'm not, because when you're having tough conversations or when things go bad, it's not suggesting that you just bury your head in the sand to pretend, put on a fake happy face and act like everything's. I'm talking about being genuinely energetic and happy and joyful and peaceful, regardless of your circumstances. That's what I'm talking about. And the doorway is just a reset to say, okay, had to deal with some tough stuff. It wasn't all fun. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows. It was hard. But I'm turning that off because I'm going to come back to it. Here I'm going forward with the energy I want to have. And that's how and we've talked about this before, that's how we end up, if we're not careful, letting the domino effect happen to us emotionally and in our energy, where one bad thing happens, it affects our energy. So then we carry that effect and we affect the next person. And now we become in this bad place and we've taken others with us. Mm-hmm. That's not who any of us wants to be. And that's really hard to have strong relationships when we go there.
I think for kids too, you think of personalities, and another personality that is not attractive is that kid that, you're talking about doing better, because we've been in groups with kids and there's always that one that it's like, well, I can't do that. No, my situation's different. And it's bringing the whole group down because everybody else is trying to break through. It's like, how do you help that personality?
I call them out.
Yeah.
I just say, what did you say? I let them repeat it. I say, is that what you believe? Okay. That may be what you believe. What's that based on? Based on what? How you feel right now. Yeah. It's not based on a reality. It's not based on truth. It's based on what you feel. So, what do you do when you have to feel something to change? It means you're a slave of your feelings. So until you start to work through that, determine that maybe you don't want to be limited to your circumstances or your emotions, then you can come up a little higher, and you won't view this as, well, this is just who I am. It's just, I'm just being real. You will then look at it and say, okay, this was a moment. This is how I feel, but I'm not going to stay there. And I'm going to come up a little higher. That challenges kids in their tracks, and they get it. Kids are smart. They're like, that's a different way to look at it. I don't know if I like it. I don't even know if I agree with it, but you're challenging their narrative, their internal narrative. And it's not like they all change on the spot. I mean, most of them just, they think about it and they take it away, and then they come back and they start to apply it, because nobody wants to be that person. Nobody wants to be stuck there.
Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to be challenged by Coach Seth.
It's weird. I mean, most kids actually like it. It's
and you don't
really
challenge.
interesting.
I mean, when I say that, you do it in such a loving, great way.
Yeah. I think my kids get the most challenging in the world.
Sure,
So they're the ones that don't like it the most. It was funny. We were, Jordan is helping at Summit a little bit this summer, and he was there. I was there at the debrief. So at the end of the day, end of a program day, we have a ton of kids on campus, and my 18-year-old is like, they're working with kids all day. At the end of the day, all the staff come together and they do a debrief just to talk about like how the day went. And I think he got hit in the head, smacked by like 2 kids that were just like, they look up to him as a cool 18-year-old athlete. Mm-hmm. And so perfect example of personality. And they're trying to make friends with him, trying to be cool. And he's loving on them, and they're just taking it too far.
Right.
And so you're hearing all this stuff. And Keenan, our director, turned to me when the debrief was over and just said, "Hey, Coach Seth, you're not at too many debriefs. Anything you want to share?" And so I took like 30 seconds to just speak into the lives of these young people who are just amazing. And I'm 10 seconds in, and all of a sudden, I start seeing Olivia and others, and they're kind of smiling and smirking and some low laughs. And I'm like, hold on, what am I missing? What's going on? And then one of them spoke up that said, "Oh, we're just wondering what Jordan's thinking right now."
Oh.
I'm like, wow. Yeah, my son is here. He happened to be standing right next to me. So they're watching me talk, and they're watching him observe me and listen. And it was a funny moment. So talk about personality and vibe.
Jordan has that face too that he can do too. You can't really tell what he's thinking. It's a good one. It's a good poker face.
He is. Okay. We'll wrap this up. Personality. Challenge your kids in shape their personalities. And if you really want our help, go to our website, learn how you can bring video curriculum to your school, maybe using our app. We're out of time. Great show, Mia. Thanks, Producer Arnold. And remember, you can watch us online. You can watch us anywhere podcasts are streamed, YouTube, and at your home TV.
At 5 Star Life, we are changing the face of culture through education and sports by changing the most important piece of a human being's life, their mindset. If you are interested in being a part of our journey, please visit 5starlife.org for more information on volunteer and donation opportunities.